Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Scribes and Scrolls. This is Book 5, Shemshime's Bedtime Rhyme, Chapter 52, Frostheart. And we'll see what that means in just a few moments. We'll take a look at that real quick. Thank you, Frag, for the resubscription. That means that I owe the book club a domain tome that just appeared up there above M's head. We are all back. We are back to our main story now after last week's one shot. If you missed that, the lingering winter, one of our interludes, interlude 6, something called Legend Lore. Check that out. It'll kind of give you a little backstory to what's going on with this session. But for all of our other announcements, all you got to do is watch the pre-stream, hang around during the break, and you can see all the good stuff there. I just have one thing that I want to talk to you all about before we play our game of Dungeons and Dragons, and that's just to remind you that you matter. Your excuse me, your presence on this earth makes a difference. Whether or not you believe it, it is true. That's why we take the time before all of our games to just let you know that. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to struggle. But if you are struggling, you do not need to do so alone. You can come into our chat anytime, type in !help into the chat, and a couple of URLs will show up for findahelpline.com as well as takethis.org's resource page. We recommend that you bookmark those pages for yourself, bookmark them for a friend. They're at those resources you will find trained professionals that are ready to help you whatever it is that you need. So please don't hesitate to use those resources, and remember, you matter. With that, it is time to play some Dungeons and Dragons. Let's get this. There we go. I just realized, nope, it's still queued up. I thought the music was going to come blasting in, but we're good. So, a lot has happened in recent times. After discovering the mysteries at Vermeulen and what had happened 70 years before, the book club left the region under the charge of their new friend Kahlo. But as they were sort of finishing up things in this weird mine, which had they found it to have a connection to the Shadowfell. It was an active Shadowfell connection that didn't involve the digging up of a child's grave. In fact, so much so that Vorn discovered a weapon that was apparently created by the Raven Queen herself and underwent an intense ritual to take possession of that weapon, known as the Hand of the Queen. As they were preparing to leave the mine, however, one of the pools of slime and apparently shadow essence exploded outward, and a shadowy figure grabbed Teera and dragged her into the pool, where she vanished. In an effort to have a way to get in contact with her, or possibly go after her, Mizya used a bag of holding to scoop up as much shadow goop as they could, and are currently carrying around a sort of portable Shadowfell gateway on their person.
Technically, it's in our room now, but yes.
Well, yeah.
It matters, Jacob.
It does. Upon returning to Candlekeep, They found things were a bit busy. The gate and the court of open air were filled with people everywhere for some sort of convocation that was taking place. But in the crowd, Mizya ran into a former companion, another turtle, a completely different turtle, by the name of Togo, who was excited to reconnect with them. Mizya was very put out by the fact that while they were gone for a month, their rooms at the House of Rest had been given away. But they were assured that they could have new accommodations underneath the hearth in a place called the Firefly Cellar, where they were brought down through 2 floors of large library down to a 3rd level where they were put up into a room. As they went to sleep, they could hear mysterious singing of some sort of what sounded like a child's nursery rhyme coming from the room next door, and that's what they all drifted off to. As we pick up our story, we are going to leave Candlekeep behind for the moment, and instead we are going somewhere else. Teera, what is a prominent memory you have from your childhood, sometime before you were forced to leave your small village in the north?
Any memory?
Any
Pleasant,
memory.
unpleasant?
Any memory.
I guess one of my biggest memories is when, like, the first time Torin got to come with me and my dad to go check the snares. Probably.
What during this first time, how old were you? How old was Torin?
I guess I was probably 9. Nah, I was probably 10 at this point. Torin would have been 5. Almost 6.
When Torin went with you on this trip, did you view it as an exciting opportunity to teach your brother? Was he good at it? Was he a burden?
I was excited to take him because he was excited about it, but there was also kind of a lingering worry that he might have a harder time than he expected, like seeing the dead animals and like, because if you find a rabbit in a snare, you've got to, and seeing that he was a little bit more of a sensitive soul, and she worried about how he would take that, but she was excited for him because he was excited.
And how was your father, Dirkhead, as a teacher?
I think because Torin was there, he tried to be very matter of fact about it, reverent about it, talked to Torin specifically a lot about my leaky. I had gotten that talk when I was younger, 5 or 6 years old, when I first started going with him, about how it's important to pay respect to nature and all of that for what it gives us. And I see almost a mirror image of that talk being given to Torin. And so Teera, at least on this trip, where she would normally be just kind of chit-chatting with her dad and about things going on in the town and whatever, this time Teera's very quiet, just kind of letting this talk happen and letting Torin kind of take it all in.
And how did Torin respond to the lessons Dirkhead gave him?
He seemed like he was listening really hard, like he was trying to really take it all in and listen to everything. When the time came to actually kill the rabbit, a rabbit, he wouldn't do it on his first try. He couldn't bring himself to do it. So I did it. And then my dad or I took care of any of the other ones we found that day. Torin was able to do it later on in the next couple of trips that we took, but the first time he was not.
And how did you treat Torin when he couldn't do it?
I was very kind to him. I didn't mention to him that I was able to do it the first time. I just kind of didn't talk about that with him. But I was just very understanding. Teera loved Torin very much, and so she was very, very gentle with him about it.
And how did Dirkhead react?
He was also accepting, maybe a little less so. There was just a hint maybe of disappointment, but not that Torin would ever be like scarred by or anything. Just maybe less disappointment and more surprise, kind of that he expected almost that the boy would be able to do it, and he couldn't that first time.
Did Dirkhead ever get angry with Torin?
I heard him later that night talking to my mother about it. Not angry so much as worried. The way we lived up in that part of the north, it's really important to be able to hunt and to trap and to kill when necessary. And he expressed to my mother that he was worried for Torin if he wouldn't end up being like able to do that.
And how did your mother seem to react to this?
She
Make a wisdom saving throw.
Yeah, oh Jesus God, okay. Dirty 20.
At this point, before you answer, you realize that these thoughts that you're running through, these memories, at first it felt like you were just randomly remembering, and then it started to feel like something in your subconscious was prompting you to look closer at your relationship with your brother and with your father. And when the thoughts and questions turn towards your mother, you realize you have this sudden moment of lucidity. And you realize you're still kind of reminiscing, moving vaguely through these memories, almost like dreams. But you're being guided. You're being directed, prompted. How do you react to that?
So I guess Teera would kind of try to shake herself out of it, almost like if you ever realize at a certain point that you're dreaming or that you might be dreaming, like try to like the big deep breaths and try to like shake her head and kind of shake herself back to consciousness. If she's lost consciousness, it's all so like foggy and weird. But
you shake your head, and you feel the memory dissolve as if it was snow that had accumulated in your hair and shoulders as you shake. And you feel the weight of exhaustion across your shoulders and your neck, and you feel very conscious of your physical body. You are sitting in a chair. You can feel the firmness of this seat. It doesn't feel uncomfortable. You feel your back supported, though your head seems to loll to your chin to your chest. And you begin to feel your hands and your feet as sensation returns to them. You have the sensation of having been in a rigorous fight and then fallen asleep, and then that when you first wake up and you just feel the aches and the pains of what adrenaline masked during the fight. You hear the sounds of wind from outside. You don't feel wind, but you hear the sound of wind howling somewhere outside. You hear the crackling of a fire. You can, from one side, you can feel warmth on the side of your face and that side of your body. You smell the scent of apples. What do you do?
I immediately try to stand up. This is not comfortable. Something's off. I try to stand up and
make a Constitution saving throw.
Wow, 21.
You stand up suddenly and you sort of lurch. You feel your body starting to move forward, and you get to your feet and you stay to your feet, but your vision immediately doubles as you look around, and it takes a moment for you to take in the small cabin that you're in. There's a fireplace off on the one wall, and there's a table nearby. The chair that you just stood up from is a well-worn wingback chair that was set in the corner, and you can see some of the other cabin around you, and just a few feet away from you in an identical chair is your mother. And she says, "Whoa, take it easy. Take it easy. You should sit back down."
And Teera does not. And she just sort of like stands. She backs up a step. And she kind of like looks at this woman. And Teera's been quite sure for a lot of years that her mother is probably dead. And so to the point where it's been so long now, she doesn't 100% remember what her mother looked like. And so this is pretty jarring, and she's just looking at this woman and kind of like confused.
You know, it's been a long time, dear. More than 16 years. Your mother looks like she's about your age.
And I kind of look, and I'm slowly like kind of remembering, and I'm just like, no, my mother's dead. Who are you?
I am not dead. I am right here with you. You keep resisting. Every time we go through this, too. Every time you start to remember our relationship, you hit a wall. You pull yourself out. We go through this again.
What do you mean every time? What are you talking about?
You've been here with me for several days now.
Where's here? Who?
You don't
Days.
look around, Teera.
Teera kind of does, but like is not super keen on taking her eyes off of this woman.
Make an insight check.
11.
You are glancing around, but you keep coming back to this woman who says she's your mother. And you're not quite getting... You're not spending your time focusing on what this place is. What can I do to make you trust me, Teera?
I don't trust you. Let me leave. I don't...
I just got you back. Can't let you go yet.
And something the way... Oh, God. Something in the way she says that, Teera's all of a sudden kind of believing that it might be her mother. Yeah, and she just sort of, like, looks and, like... What? Why am I here?
She stands up. She walks past you by the fire. She grabs an iron rod and uses it to reach in and pull a kettle that's hanging from a hook inside the fireplace. And sets it over on the table. Uses a towel to grab the handle and pour some hot liquid into a cup, and you immediately smell the blossoming scent of some type of hot cider drink as she hands you the cup. Drink this and have a seat. We can talk again.
And the way it smells is very, very familiar to Teera.
It's 100% a familiar. This is like a core memory.
Yeah.
Unlock.
And so at this point, Teera, kind of looking around again, doesn't feel like she's in any immediate danger, and she sits down in the chair. And on the edge, she's not like leaning back, relaxed. She's like sitting like right on the edge, kind of looking at this woman with this cup like in her lap almost. And with one last suspicious look at this lady, Teera does take a drink of it.
As you take a drink, she smiles at you. And then she pours some more into another cup, walks over and sits down in the seat near you, and takes a sip. Now, you seem to be recovering from the journey here, more lucid than you've been at any other time. If you would like to ask me questions, I am more than happy to answer them.
If you're my mother, then why do you look so young? You should be...
I look as I've always looked. Oh. I am much older than 40, I'm afraid.
I don't understand. You said the journey here. Where is here? Where are my friends? What do you mean when you say I every time we do this? What is this?
I used an emissary to bring you here from where you were. It involved you being rather unceremoniously transported through the Shadowfell to here. I'm afraid I had no control over the emissary. I would have rather they handled it in a better manner, but for whatever reason, you came to me unconscious and struggling to accept the reality of where you were. You've been here for 10 days. I have been keeping you fed and taking care of you. And I've been trying to guide you through your memories.
Why? Why do you give a shit about my memories?
Because you're my daughter, Teera, and I haven't seen you for more than 16 years.
Can I do an insight check on that?
Yeah.
11. It was an 11, sorry.
Okay. She seems very sincere, and everything she's saying, her mannerisms, everything about her is exactly, including the way she looks, how your memory is starting to come back to you of what your mother looked like and how she acted and who she was.
Teera, almost subconsciously, is starting to sit further back in the chair and takes another sip of the cider and just like, we could just talk about it. If there's anything you're curious about.
Well, you've been resisting consciousness. You've been taking refuge in your memories. Your brother, your father. As I said, every time we get to memories of me, you resist them for some reason. Now, you're awake. Why are you resisting me, dear?
You were dead.
Why do you think I was dead?
You had to be. There was no other way. We ran into Dad on the way out when the village got attacked, and you weren't the fighting type, as I recall. And we assumed the worst. You never found us. We never found you.
That's because your father didn't want me to find you. And with that, we're going to scene switch.
Oh, shit. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay.
As we switch over to Candlekeep in the Firefly Cellar, it has been a full night in your new accommodations. And you were all put together in this one room near the end of the hall. Excuse me. And you all went to sleep hearing this music, or you didn't go to sleep. You went into your trance or whatever you do. Who is the first of you to begin to stir within your room?
I mean, aside from Doc not sleeping, I'm guessing he would be very still, but I would have taken, 4 or 5 hours or so to meditate, and then I would be up and stirring and diving into my books as per normal.
Mizya, as you are perusing through your personal collection of books, you find yourself absent-mindedly humming a tune. It almost sounds like it's somebody else at first. And then you have that realization that it's you. You're humming.
I don't hum. What? I just kind of look around, very perplexed at this occurrence.
Doc, in an otherwise quiet room, you, seemingly unprovoked, you do start to hear that little bit of humming coming from Mizya, and then you just hear them say, "I don't hum." What do you do, Doc?
Well, it seems to me that you do hum because you are. So I find it hard to believe that you don't hum while you are humming, Mizya.
Yes, but that's the odd thing, Doctor. I don't know that I've ever hummed before, so it's odd that I would just do it out of the blue now. Strange. I find it quite odd, yes.
Well, if I've learned anything about people in general, it's that they are strange. So maybe, from the very beginning, being strange isn't out of the ordinary at all.
So, weird is relative, I suppose.
That's right.
That's quite the astute observation, Doctor.
Well, I am the smartest person I know.
I see you right up there, yes.
And humble, I'm told.
So it would seem.
It is strange that you started humming, relatively, I mean.
Doc,
What was the tune? Can you sing it again?
Mizya, you find yourself, before you even think about whether or not you are going to hum the tune, you find yourself humming that tune. And Doc, you find yourself humming along with Mizya.
Doctor, it's.
Yeah?
What's going on? This does not seem right to me.
Well, you started humming, and then I started humming. Maybe it's like when people yawn. It's if I yawn and then you, of course I don't sleep. But if I yawn, then maybe you would yawn. It's completely normal.
You made Ricky yawn.
I'm going to take a moment of.
Really did make me yawn.
Counterpoint. It's very strange, and we should figure out why it's happening.
I'm going to take a moment of introspection to reflect on exactly how weird this is for me. Just going to make like a perception or history or something. I don't know.
Make an insight check.
Insight.
Vorn and Togo, you are both awakened by the sounds of Mizya and Doc both intermittently humming and discussing.
Togo, I know you're new to us all, but those two right there aren't known for their mirth and humming.
Well, that's a real shame. I was really starting to like it. I could hear a bit of harmony in between them two.
I also dispute the lack of mirth. I'm very mirthful.
Really, Doc?
That's right.
Huh.
I bring joy to everyone who knows me. If that isn't the very essence of being mirthful, I don't know what is.
While Doc is talking, Vorn and Togo, you both are very lightly humming the same tune. And Mizya, with that insight check, as you realize almost everybody, unless they're talking, they seem to be lightly humming this tune. It takes you a minute, but you recognize that tune as the tune you fell asleep to. The tune you heard being sung from the room next door. It has a very catchy sort of sing-song quality to it.
Vorn, from being in the village in which his mind was horrifically invaded, does not like the feeling that he is doing something involuntarily. He can sense it just underneath the surface of his consciousness that this doesn't feel like something that he's doing by his own volition. And that makes Vorn a little on edge and skeptical of the safety of the area.
Would you attempt to stop humming the song?
Vaughn would attempt to look around and see where the danger is coming from and what is subverting his own will. I don't know if that's a wisdom check or what.
Make an insight check.
That's an 18.
As you instinctively are looking for an external force that is taking control, you begin to realize that it's not so much that something is forcing you to hum necessarily. It's just like you've just heard an earworm and you just find yourself humming it whenever there's a moment's silence. If you concentrate, you realize you can stop humming, but you have to deliberately concentrate on not humming.
Vaughn will look over at Togo and ask, as Vaughn is humming, and Togo is humming, and I imagine like in harmonious or synchronic, like tone and pitch. Like, how have we doing this?
Well, it's not like you're humming and you don't have to hum like every second. It's just whenever there's a lull. In the same way that I and my friends know this, I tend to I'll sit there and just kind of make little noises as a hyperactive child that I am. It's kind of like that. You just start in that when you're not actively talking, you find yourself just slightly.
So what Vaughn's gonna do is he's gonna hold his head up and just like let the silence, have its presence in the room. And then when the humming starts, look over at Togo and say, "Is this a song that you know?"
Togo, while humming, because he is quite content to hum, he's just like, he's almost even like kind of bouncing along to it. Does he know it or have any?
You can make a history check.
Togo's really well. Actually, that's a 16.
You've never heard of this song before you heard it being sang last night.
But he does remember it being sung last night.
You all start to realize that this is the tune that you heard somebody singing last night.
So then,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Togo turns to Vaughn and, I don't think that I have ever heard of this song before, but it was catchy when whoever was singing it in the next room, and we must have all just caught the worm.
And Vaughn looks over at Doc and Mizya, and Mizya, doesn't seem odd to you. We've never heard. Have you heard this song?
Yes, while you were sleeping, Doctor, and I were talking about how odd this is to me, and I don't do music.
Doc, I've never heard you hum before.
Just because you haven't heard it doesn't mean it didn't happen, right?
True, but why now? Why all of us the same tune? Have you heard this before, Doc? Is
No.
this a tune you know?
No, I would say not.
And as the smartest person in the group, wouldn't you say that's odd that we all are humming a song that we've never heard before?
From a certain point of view, it may seem odd, yes.
What other points of view are there?
Well, I thought it was clear. from another point of view, it is not odd. Obviously.
Maybe with a little bit more practice, we could sing in the tavern at night. Form a little group.
As you say this, you hear knocking at your door.
Who's closest to the door?
I think Togo
It's a
would
small.
get it.
It's a small room. Togo, you answer the door. You answered the door to find a small human girl of about 8 years old standing at your door. She looks
Oh,
up
hi.
at you. Hi!
Togo does the same wave. Hi.
I'm Galeby.
Hold
I'm
on.
Togo.
What time of night is this?
It's morning.
Okay.
Not.
My name's Galeby. My dad told me to come down and let you know that breakfast is being served. If you're hungry.
Well, thank you. And he like does the same trick that he did with the kid in the line, where he like runs the gold coin through his hand and then like pulls it from behind her ear, and then gives it to her.
That's really neat. And she takes the coin and as you hand it to her, she goes, "Did you want this back?" And she kind of does this and holds her hand out, and it's empty.
Yeah, Togo will do the exact like that kind of.
And then with her other hand, she just goes, bing, and catches it. And she takes a couple skipping steps down the hall, and she goes, "You can come up to the next floor. There's enough people here that we're gonna eat in the library in the central area." And as she starts skipping down the hall, you hear her going, la 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 la, and it's the same tune you all were humming.
Apparently, it's a very catchy tune.
I think that's it, Doc. That's just a catchy tune.
Hey,
That is not something other than trying to.
not everything has to be other, Vaughn. It could just be a coincidence sometimes, I'm sure. I think we're overthinking this.
Yeah, it's not as though there's some unseen overlord who's directing our actions.
And Vorn feels the presence of the shadowy katana that is in between realms in his hand, the weight of it, but not there. He's like, ugh. It just all seems so weird. Teera being gone, falling into that muck. The song that we're all singing, it just can't be all just happy-go-lucky. What's wrong with everybody?
Well,
He
Vord,
looks around.
she certainly didn't fall into the muck. She was sucked through like a portal. Very different.
Oh, you know what I'm saying, Doc?
I
My
mean,
God, why am I the only one that? And Vorn kind of like takes a breath and he's like,
Togo puts a hand on Vorn. It's all right. I know that you miss whoever you're missing. But as he does so, he is going to cast protection from evil and good on Vorn.
oh, nice.
I don't know if that does anything, but
Sure as shit
You have a
seems like it
calming
should.
spell?
Do you have a Xanax?
I cast Xanax.
Everybody else, like Vorn with this whole trial and yeah. That's-
So I think Togo like looks at Vorn for like an extra beat or two as he does this, just to see if, anything is different.
Yeah, and
Vorn,
Yeah.
how you react to this spell is entirely up to you.
is it an auto spell or is there a roll success?
No, it's
Okay.
just a thing that Togo has done.
Okay. Yeah.
I will say that in that moment, you do hear the others lightly humming, or just even a few fragments of the hum, and you kind of still have that urge to hum, but it's not like a compulsion. It's just like it's like when you have an earworm and you just find yourself singing. Or even worse, when you find yourself singing a song that you don't really know, so you only sing the same like 2 lines that you know over and over
The
again.
worst.
Like kiss me beneath the twilight. Yeah.
So you're saying we watched TikTok last night, and now we all have that
That's exactly
same
it.
song.
You've got the.
Seconds.
So what you guys are just hearing is, oh no, oh no, it's over and over again.
Vorn,
God no.
Vorn apprehensively looks at Togo and says, "You're right. It's been hard the last few days. Okay, I have to bleed this edge off. Okay, but I will not sing, and I will not hum, and I will not whistle, and I will not snap, and I will not clap."
Would you
Will not
like
eat them,
some
Sam,
green
I am.
eggs and ham for breakfast, Vaughn?
I will not.
Good job, Dwight. Here's a wavelength. We're both at it.
Yeah.
Doc is going to look over at Togo, and he's going to say, Vorn isn't usually this angry.
Togo kind of like nods. Anger is fine. It's a fine emotion. If you're feeling a certain type of way, it's understandable.
Thank you, Togo. I haven't had a way to get it out in a way that's helpful, to say the least. Okay.
Not to be rude, but are we going to go? Just keep talking.
It's fine. And one will kind of swallow it. What do I have to roll to not hum?
Nothing.
Okay. I will
You do have to concentrate on not humming, though.
Okay. All right.
And that applies to
Well,
anybody.
Vorn
If
will
you
dive into
concentrate, you can stop yourself from humming. So you all head upstairs to the second level of the library.
Is anyone trying not to hum besides me, or is everybody?
Oh, yeah.
humming?
100%. I am mean mugging it all the way to breakfast. So
So angry.
Togo's having a great time, so he's continuing to hum.
So you
This is
all
delightful.
you all head down the hall, and before you turn down the long hall that leads to the stairs, you see the sort of common kitchen area, and you can smell the bacon and toast and muffins and sweet smells and coffee and other stuff coming from this room. And you see the signs that somebody has prepared something, and so you head up the stairs, and as you head up to sort of the second floor, you see, looking out into that large area where there's the circular stacks of books, and you can sort of see now that at certain key places there are a total of 4 stone pillars that rise up to hold up, sort of supporting the floors here, but otherwise it's all open. And you see about 30 feet ahead of you, between the shelves, you see a large table, circular table in the middle, with chairs arranged around it, and you see several people around that table. You see the little girl, Galeby, sitting there, You see a human man who is placing. He looks to be in his 30s. He's placing a few dishes that looks like he just carried up onto a central. There's like a large lazy Susan in the middle of this table, and he's sort of placing the last few things down. There's a full breakfast spread here. You also see an elven woman with, if in Vorn this would probably strike you, if Teera had hair so blonde that she was given the name the Sun-Maned, you can only imagine what name this elven woman would have, as her hair seems to almost radiate light. It's so white gold. And she looks to be, even for an elf, she looks to be very old. You see that there is also what looks almost like a, well, it is a tabaxi, but that looks like a Siamese cat. Very, very short hair, very tan, tawny fur with some dark spots around the ears and the nose, and perhaps a bit ironically, seated immediately next to the tabaxi is a kenku, a humanoid bird, wearing sort of almost purplish robes, and has a staff sitting next to them, and there's a few empty seats around the table, enough for all of you, with a couple left over as you come in. And as you come up close, seeing you, Togo, Gilby looks up with a mouthful of bacon and goes, the elderly elven woman says, "Ah, it is nice to see that we have guests. Come along, youngsters, have a seat." And they motion to the open seats.
Youngsters. Mizya.
She looks at you, Mizya. Please. Have a seat, young one. Gesturing to the chair next to her.
I don't mind standing. I'm in a bit of a mood today.
Well, far be it from me to tell you how to go about your morning routine. Help
yes,
yourself.
far be it.
Help yourself. And you see that she takes a glass pitcher, and she reaches. All of the seats have place settings with like actual like what's the word I'm looking for? Like ceramic dishes, and some silverware, and there's a coffee cup, and there's a water glass, and there's drinking horns. And there's a very tall flute-like glass that she is currently pouring herself a mimosa into. Suit yourself.
I try to fight back a scowl and just try to be as nonplussed or about the situation. Or are they? I'm trying to pretend like I don't care. Yes, well. Whatever. Kind of under my breath.
Let me see. Oh yeah. She if you're trying to hide it, make a performance check. I want to see if she sees through your clever ruse.
21.
Ooh.
24.
Oh!
Stop.
Oh!
She smiles at you over the glass with this almost. She holds herself very high as she does so, as she just kind of smiles. I will never understand the younger generation's need to mask their true feelings.
I drop the facade and just stare at her in abject hatred.
Oh my god. Mizya, don't get into a fight.
Are we all going dark today? Is this today Dark Monday?
Goth as shit.
Let's go.
Why is everyone so angry?
I'm not angry.
Togo's happy all the time.
Togo's the anchor.
Gilby has a big piece of sausage in one hand, a big thick cut of bacon in the other hand, and is sitting there going, I'm not mad.
This is me in real life most of the time, for the record. Especially if I have bacon.
You give me bacon and sausage, and I'm sitting there happy as can
I'm
be,
not
too.
mad.
I think that's a good place to scene switch over to actually a break. We're almost to break time. So rather than get started on a scene and go too long or have to cut it in a weird place, let's go ahead and take our break now. And we will get back into things in just a few moments. Please do stick around. We have announcements during the breaks, placards of shows and things coming up. So please check those out. We will be back in 10 minutes. And we're back. Teera, your mother has just told you that it was your father who, she implied that your father was getting in the way of some things.
Why would he do that? Why wouldn't he want you to find us?
Your father did not approve of the trajectory that I had planned for our life. He had grown accustomed to more than a decade of living as a normal family. And when the time came, he got in the way of our plans.
What do you mean? The time for what?
I'm going to tell you something that I had planned to tell you when you reached maturity. I am a witch. You are my daughter. And I had intended for you to follow in my footsteps. To teach you the old magics and teach you the way of the wind and the winter. To feel the breath of the white dragon on your soul. To feel the touch of Auriel, the Frost Maiden. But before that time came, magical wards that we had put in place were no longer proving effective. It was time to move on. Your father was supposed to do as he had done years before. He was supposed to reach out to people he knew in a tribe of orcs in the north, in the Cold Vale, and they were supposed to sack the town. He made other plans without me knowing, and instead, more than a week early, a gang of bandits attacked. And before I knew what was happening, he had sent you off, intending to collect you.
Yeah. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. He didn't plan all that. So many people died. Torin and I saw so much. He didn't mean for that to happen.
More were supposed to die. Because of your father's actions, much of the town survived. He got you out before things got worse. And I don't know how he did it, but he masked your escape. I could not find you. It was years before I found your brother.
How did you find him?
It was actually quite by chance. He had been working for a number of years for some ranger guide in the Desert Valley. Just so happens, the ranger guide was the husband of another witch of the wood. That's how I first learned of who he was. He was going by Cain Mulgrim at that point.
Why didn't my father want you to make me into whatever you were?
The last 10 days, through your dreams and memories, they always started with your father. Every time. And then your brother. And every time you started to remember home and me, you hit a wall. You were always your father's daughter first. And perhaps I'm a bit ashamed to admit it, but I was jealous. Your father had grown so close to you. He wanted you to follow in his footsteps. He wanted you to be like him. And I can see after all these years, he got his wish.
Yeah, I don't much take with all that magic stuff. I don't trust it. It's just not me.
But it could have been. It was your destiny. It was the plan from the start. Now there are things in motion that are so far beyond what you could even imagine. Your brother is a tool being used and manipulated. Did you know that Torin is the reason I found you? Oh, he has no idea. Don't hold it against him. She leans forward and reaches a hand out to where you still wear the crudely made wolf pendant around your throat.
Yeah. Oh.
You and Torin both have been wearing these necklaces that he made. But it was I who gave him the materials. And I enchanted them. You have to understand, Teera, that I have not seen you for 16 years. After Dirkhead sent you off, intending to catch you, well, things didn't go as planned. You and your brother were separated. That made it even worse, and for years I had no idea where you were. Then, when he was just a teenager, that's when I learned of where Torin was. When he wasn't working with the Ranger Guide, he had found a home with a nomadic tribe in the north that had made their way further south. And he had grown close to the tribe's leader, a woman. And she treated him like a son, and he treated her like a mother, but I am his mother. You see, anger sours her expression for a moment. But I was able to make contact with your brother. And I was able to show him what he was capable of, working with the Sisterhood. He has been, for quite a few years, collecting samples. It broke his heart when I made him take the blood of that bear tribe woman he had treated as a mother. But he did it anyway.
Did he kill her?
I don't know, and I don't care. But when he completed his task, I knew I had my son back. And he was the key to getting my daughter back. To getting you back, Teera.
So you made him into a lycanthrope. You made
No.
him into that thing.
I did not do that. That was a plan of the Sisterhood. You see, all of this started with a woman named Ravonna Shadowheart. It was she who had concocted this plan, and she had been working on it for a number of years. She considers herself a bit more of the scientific nature of us. And her sister, Venora Briarheart, was erratic, unpredictable. Both of them had made attempts at converting their own children. Ravonna lost her daughter completely. In fact, empowered an entire cult against us. Venora's children proved to not be up to the task, and their minds broke under the weight of what was being asked of them, but I knew that my children would never break. Cain was given a choice. He took the mark of his own will.
What was the alternative? What was the choice?
To not be become sire marked. It was his
Could
choice
just
to
walk
do so.
away.
He would have been able to walk away, and I would have found some other way for him to lead me to you. Ravona believes that we can honor the Moon Mother by converting the Sire Marked into pure lichens with the ability to transform between forms. And then, once that power has gained, we can begin to spread that power. Of course, the Silver Talons oppose us. But Teera, I have other plans. Ravona and the Briarheart are just a means to an end. It's just to get to you. I want you to come back to me and learn. I want you to accept the power I have to offer you that is in your blood.
Is it all that winter shit? The magic, the whatever you did before?
As I said, I am a winter witch. You have the blood.
Well, what if I just want to walk away? I don't want that. I want to go back to my friends. I want to...
What will you do with your friends, Teera? Wander around solving mysteries? To what end?
Helping people, making the world a better place. Killing bandits wherever I find them, I don't know. Keeping what happened to me from happening to anybody else. How about that?
You have...
And Teera, upon raising her voice and then her mother's like silent response, Teera almost like shrinks back.
She carefully sets her mug down on the table next to her. She stands up and she walks across the room to where there's this large wooden table with a couple benches. And she picks up an object on the table. As soon as she picks it up, you recognize it. It's your father's greatsword. She just...
Teera reaches back and doesn't feel it. She just kind of, it's like a reflex.
She has one hand on the hilt, the other hand on the scabbard. It doesn't surprise me that you carry his sword. And she pulls it out of the sheath. And you see as she does so, she struggles a bit. You see the blade drop. She doesn't look like she's strong enough to hold the blade very well. Clear of the scabbard, she places her other hand out, laying the flat of the blade in her hand. You have a hero complex, Teera. You are more like your father than you realize. I want you to come to me by your own choice. And she's walking closer to you. It is my desire that you and I grow and learn together, as you were supposed to all those years ago. Your father interfered and stole years of our life together. And she's holding the blade up like this as she steps closer to you. And then she turns it so that the hilt and the handle are towards you.
Mm-hmm.
Choice, Teera Frostheart, is yours. You can stay here, and you can learn what I have to teach you, or you can take your father's sword. You can go back to your friends.
And at this point, I stand up. And I kind of like look her in the eye and just like I shake my head and I would say I love you, but I don't want any part of this. And I would take my sword back from her.
As you put your hand on the hilt, she holds it for a moment. And for just a moment, your hands are touching. You feel simultaneously the warmth of your mother's touch, but you feel the icy coldness of her hand. She looks you in the eye and she says, I love you, Teera, more than anything in this world. And I hope that one day you will find me. It is important for you to understand where you come from and to never forget it. You remember your father. I want you to take me with you. And as she releases her hand, she places it over her other hand that's still on the blade. And you feel the handle in your hand growing cold. She's squeezing and you feel it getting colder. And you hear that sort of as you see frost moving from her hands all across the blade. The blade shatters. Disintegrates into dozens and dozens of pieces of brittle metal. And you sort of pull back for a moment, holding just the handle and the crossguard of this greatsword of your father's.
Teera looks confused and then she looks pissed.
She reaches a hand towards where you're holding it. And then she takes the other hand, and you can see that there are cuts across her palms where the shattering blade cut into her hand. And you see the blood as she holds her hands like this, the blood sort of dripping from the top hand, but you also see it dripping upward from the bottom hand and sort of turning almost a dark red and frost covered as she holds it out like this. And you see ice forming from that blood, the full length until it connects with the hilt. And then you see it solidify and reshape and darken into cold, literal cold steel as she has remade your blade. You still have your father's great sword hilt and handle, but your mother has reforged the blade of her own blood and magic.
Wow.
It is, for the time being, you can remove your greatsword from your inventory and add a Frost brand greatsword.
Okay.
It is a magical weapon that deals 1d6 extra cold damage. While you hold it, you are resistant to fire. And when you unsheath it, you can extinguish all non-magical flame within 30 feet of you.
Oh. Okay. Solid.
So you see this as this blade forms, and you see her grow pale, and her skin begins to look this almost translucent blue. She looks like almost like a frozen corpse. And you kind of see, almost for a moment, you see it looks like she ages. And then she pulls her hands back, and you see as she sort of grabs at this frost-covered ring, almost like a wedding band on her hand, and the color returns, and she looks as young as she ever did.
And I look at the sword for a second. I look at it in my hands, kind of similar to the way she was, and I just like, I look at her, I'm like, thank you. I don't know why I can't remember you the way I should. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too, Teera. I'm sorry. The time that we lost. Sorry that things happened the way they did. I'm sorry for everything that is to come. And you see her make a gesture, and you see, as she motions her hands, you see, it almost looks like frost on a window pane, but in the air as she gestures. And she says something in an arcane language, and it's like a blast of winter wind hits you in the face, and you feel yourself falling backwards. And you continue to fall backwards. And we're going to cut over to breakfast at the Firefly Cellar.
Bacon, eggs, fun, alcohol.
As you're all taking your seats around this table, where breakfast is being served, and there's all of these people that are sitting around here. As we cut back, the Tabaxi is looking around at all of you and is kind of spinning the Lazy Susan around and saying, "Make sure you try some of this. This is a very good herbal chicken that our hosts have put together. It pairs very lovely with these red potatoes. And there's just the right amount of onion has been put into there. Of course, you're going to want to get the bacon. You're going to want some salt, unless you don't eat meat. Over here are some wonderful vegetarian options. You can try those out, of course. There is a wonderful breakfast ale here if you would like to try that. We have, of course, had some coffee prepared by Ebdar. He makes some of the most perfect coffee that I have tasted all up and down the Sword Coast. And one of these days, Ebdar, you're going to tell me what your secret is." And she just keeps talking. To nobody in particular and everybody at once. Kind of like me if I was a Tabaxi.
Every time she mentions a new food, Togo takes a piece of that new food. Of just like, oh, He's like taking it and like puts every piece on his plate.
Warren's gonna take some of the coffee into one of his the mug club mugs that he has, and a small piece of bread. Not having much of an appetite, he's going to politely excuse himself and walk outside. Put this coffee away.
You're gonna walk where?
We're inside of a tavern, right?
No, you're in the Firefly Cellar, which is a 2-story library beneath the tavern, and then the 3rd story down was where you stayed the night.
Oh, jeez, I gotta walk 2 stories.
So you're gonna walk up.
Okay, no. Warren's just gonna take a cup of coffee and have his mug club and kind of sit in the corner and by himself and stew, but it's coffee.
Doc is going to look at all the food, and he's gonna turn up his nose slightly, and he's going to very gingerly back away.
I've just sidled up next to Doc at this point and just standing grumpily up against the wall.
So hold on. Is Doc and Mizya against the wall next to each other, and then Togo's smashing the buffet, and then Vorn's on the opposite side of the room by himself drinking coffee?
Pretty much.
Okay, Vorn is straight Raphael from the Turtles right now.
Sick. Awesome.
You all sort of separate, and Togo's just left there eating along with everybody else. The man who prepared everything says, well, it's kind of nice seeing somebody besides Galeby appreciating all the effort I went to make breakfast. Well, besides Galeby and Cthulhu. As the Tabaxi kind of looks momentarily offended and then smiles.
This food is mwah. Togo says as he's like shoving more into his food or into his mouth. I'm sure you'll have to excuse the others. They got big feelings, and you know what they say about big feelings. It fills up your stomach and then you can't eat.
Well, I figured we ought to get a nice big meal in today, and it won't be quite as lavish the next few days, but I figured it would be good if we could all sit around the table and get to know one another, since we're going to be down here together for a little while. At which point the elven woman kind of clears her throat and goes and sort of slightly shakes her head. Oh, dang it. I am so sorry, Varnir. I am so sorry. Did not mean to spill the beans. No, you wanted to tell them. Yes, well. I am not going to shout to be heard. You can, the other three of you that are against the wall can hear the elven woman who's speaking firmly enough that you can hear her. Because in order for you to go to the wall, you're like 30 feet away. I had hoped we could have a civilized breakfast together where I would inform you that we are quarantined here in the Firefly Cellar for, at present, what is an indefinite period of time.
Why is that? Quarantine?
Young man, I would prefer not to have to shout at you across the library. It is a library, after all.
Fine.
I promise you I'm not going to bite.
Vorn will come to the table and like against his dour attitude, that coffee is absolutely delicious, and it will go absolutely well with one of those freshly baked cake breads or D&D fritters or D&D donuts with a little bit of D&D sausage. And Vorn, will make himself a small plate. Well, by small plate, 3 times the size of a normal human's plate, and sit down.
The
Togo
elven
passes Vorn like just a few items, like more. Oh, you've got to try this. These are just delicious.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Have you heard this tune before?
As you start humming it, she starts humming along with you. And then Cthulhu, the tabaxi, starts humming, as does Galeby and Enbar. And even the Kenku starts making the same exact sound as all of you are humming that tune.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone is lost in delicious breakfast.
Have you heard this tune before?
Yes, of course.
What is the origin of it?
That is why we are quarantining here in the cellar.
Oh my god.
Everyone seems to be afflicted with this tune, and we do not know the reason.
Oh,
Vorn with a mouthful of food. I told you guys it wasn't natural. My goodness.
Something.
The best sweet cake You go.
Something is happening, and we do not understand what is causing it.
Excuse me. Could you pass that plate right over there?
For somebody who is really concerned about the strangeness of everyone humming the same tune, all of a sudden, and now we've revealed that it is strange, and in fact we're being quarantined because we're all humming the same tune, and nobody knows why, you're awfully ho-hum about this whole thing, Vorn.
No. Don't mistake my appreciation for this delicious breakfast that you have made, nodding over to the hood, for my lack of concern about the humming, which I've told you, mouthful of food, was weird the whole time. Togo, can you pass that gravy over there? I think it goes over on top of these D&D biscuits.
Yeah, Togo takes I imagine it's like this huge vat of gravy as he pours it over. Or I'm glad you got your appetite back, Vorn. It is very good.
You're saying the least. I don't think I've eaten in 2 days.
Mizya, make a perception check.
18.
Where you are currently standing, over by the side, if you're still standing off to the side, you feel as if you feel like somebody just it almost feels like somebody brushed against you. Like a presence brushed against your hip.
I will What?
There's nobody there.
Odd.
You feel a pressure on your hip.
Same one or the
Same
other
one. And you realize your bag of holding is moving.
Oh.
It's odd. I will kind of lift it away from my hip and hold it in both hands.
You suddenly feel like extra weight is pressing down on as you're holding it. And you start to you see this. So all along, since you gathered this shadow stuff, it's sort of slowly been seeping this shadow fog. And you see now that it's spilling out of it. And it feels like you're holding onto a fire hose almost. Where you're kind of straining to keep it in place, but it's not put downward force. And you feel it sort of in your hand expanding and you're having to wrestle with it.
I will take it off of my hip and throw it onto the ground. And kind of step away from it. Doctor.
Yes.
And I would just kind of point at it.
Doc is going to grab it and open it up and look inside.
As you pick it up, Doc, you feel this same resistance, and looking inside, you see just inky, shadowy blackness as this sort of shadow stuff starts spilling out. I need you to make... Just gotta see which one it is. I think it's wisdom. Yeah, make a wisdom saving throw.
I'm great at this. I'm gonna use a tome.
So wise.
Never said I was wise. That is a 15.
You feel, as you are peering into this, you get this blast of Shadowfell energy, and you can feel this sort of weight of despair and depression kind of coming with it, but it sort of washes over your face and even blows your hair back a little bit, and you resist the lingering effects of this. But then you start to see something else, this sort of cold blue light in the middle of the shadow. And you see, it looks as if you're looking into this bag, but you're peering at the end of a long tunnel. And the light begins to grow brighter and larger, and you see a figure silhouetted against it. As all of a sudden, a form comes launching forward at you, and I need you, Doc and Teera, to make dexterity saving throws.
Oh God. Can I see? Am I blinded or deafened?
5.
I would say yes, because you're coming from inside a bag of holding / shadow portal.
That's fair. I got a 12.
What did you get, Doc?
5.
Teera, you come launching into warm light, and you crash into someone, and you feel a jumble of arms and legs, and Doc, you are knocked completely backwards. You crash into one of the bookshelves, and books spill down around both of you. And Teera, you see for a moment, you're caught up in books everywhere, sort of raining around you. And it takes you a moment to realize that you are on top of Doc.
Yeah, Teera wouldn't realize right away. Teera would kind of like scramble to her feet and kind of like, and kind of like looking around everywhere, like trying to figure out where she is. And then, like, after the fact, she would look down and she'd be like, Doc?
Oh, hello, Teera.
And then she would look around more and like, Mizya?
Oh, hello. Oh, that was unexpected.
And then she like is looking around more frantically, and then when her eyes come upon Vorn, maybe not everybody in the room notices, but her eyes get like pink, and then she walks, kind of like stumbles a little bit on one of these books, but then walks over to Vorn and just throws her arms around him and just like hugs him, really probably too hard.
Vorn immediately, Teera, and grasp right and stop.
Sorry.
I thought of what was happening.
That was a private one, and it was directed at Jake. Everybody at home.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I accept it.
I happened to look up when I saw that. Jeez. Okay. Anyways, yeah, Vorn, Teera, and immediately collapses and in this weakening but strong stance.
And Teera's just like breathing deeply, and like Vorn kind of feels her like shaking almost, and like she's just like it all throughout like the last, like it's been like weird and memory-y, and she is afraid almost for a minute that it's not real, but just the smells and the way Vorn feels, and like she's kind of very slowly coming to the realization that it is real and that he's really there, and she her breaths get slower and less kind of frenzied, and then eventually she just sort of like pulls back and just looks at him and is like looking around, is like, where the hell are we?
Vorn, because he just had like 3 pounds of bacon and sausage and gravy.
He smells
turns
like
away-
meat and smoke. That's
Yeah.
generally what he smells like. Yeah.
He
Yeah,
turns
yeah.
away and does that burp in his mouth and is like, oh god, where do I blow this? And like throws it to the side.
Amazing.
And is it really you, Teera?
And Teera would just kind of like look down at her like,
And
yeah.
kind of like steps a couple, like, you know, with an arm's length, and like shoulders, feels the bra and the triceps. Like, yeah, those are Teera's triceps, and
Teera
those are the
Teera
traps.
smells of wood smoke and baked apples.
And Vorn looks over at the group, and he looks over at Mizya and Doc and Togo. Teera's back, everybody. And looks over at everyone and just kind of proclaims it to the group, like, Teera's back.
The elven woman, Varnier, immediately stands to her feet. How did you get in here? This library is on lockdown. We are in a quarantine, and you should not have been able to gain entrance.
I'm sorry. I don't know.
Who let you in?
No, nobody. I don't know I don't know where exactly I've been.
Don't worry, it was a Shadowfell portal in the bag of holding. Everything's under control.
Yes, remember when we thought that was a bad idea?
Well, it's better than digging up a child's grave.
This
How
is
the
true.
How the hell did you get that Shadowfell in a bag?
Oh, it was a bag of holding.
That makes very little extra sense than it did before.
Well, see, a bag of holding is a magical item where you can put things much more than you would think. It's bigger on the inside. So you can put things, and well, it probably wasn't the best of ideas to put another dimension, the leak from another dimension into a dimensional portal. But
Are we in
since we did-
Candlekeep? Are we in
yes.
Candlekeep?
We're in Candlekeep, and are you okay? And Vorn's looking like you're fine, right?
Yeah, I think so. Is everybody else okay? Did the mining party in Callow and the and Manistrad and everybody, the sisters, and are they all okay?
Most of them didn't die, so that's good.
Most of them didn't?
Yeah, there's some died.
yes, it was. Well, I mean, you were there for most of the fight, and then you were swallowed by that goopy thing.
Yeah.
But Callow is fine. We made it home.
And this is Togo.
And yes, Togo. One of the young ones that passed was going to be taken in for a resurrection spell. So that could be good.
Okay.
But yes.
Well, Togo, it's nice to meet you. I'm sorry. Were you a part of the mining party, or did these knuckleheads find you on the way back, or?
Well,
Interesting stuff.
not. God damn it, Teera, in your accent, I lost mine.
Sorry.
I have no idea what that's like at all.
When someone does it so good that you're like, no. Togo looks to Mizya. I'm actually Mizya's guardian. I found them after searching for them for quite a while.
Yes, you have missed quite a lot in this short period of time.
How long have I been gone?
Oh, I just realized I never put the date back on screen because I took it off
5
last week.
years.
It's been
Jesus.
5 years.
It's been 87 years.
It is I'm just making sure that date is actually correct. It is the 12th of Kythorn, so it's been, I'd have to go back and double check, but I think it's been something like 8 days.
So upon hearing that news, Teera's like, yeah. Okay. Well, let's.
Teera, you immediately feel something pushing against you, and then in the midst of all of you where you're standing over here, there's this sort of flurry of feathers as feathery arms are reaching out and sort of starting to push you away as this roughly 4'10" Kenku comes into your midst and just goes,
Hey.
"What the hell is wrong with you?" And then in a different sounding voice says, "Look with your eyes, not with your hands. Restoration. We'll have to fix. As they begin picking up all the books that you knocked down, each one looking at him. What the hell is wrong with you?
And I just
This
kinda
is
step
not
back.
good. Not good."
I kind of help Doc. I like am standing by Doc as well, and I'm just like, your guardian, Mizya. What was he guarding you from, huh?
Well, it appears that I saved Togo's life, totally on purpose. And Togo feels something of a life debt to me. So here we are.
That's right. I made a vow. I wouldn't rest until Mizya, their life, I saved.
I saved Mizya's life before. Does that count?
No, I think I have to do it. I think that's how that works. But I'll
I
have
saved
to
them.
check.
I saved them from a mimic, and I saved them from falling on the ground, and I
Well,
saved them
Doc-
from a really uncomfortable time on the cart.
I saved you too. I remember back in the city. So
You did?
this is, yeah. Remember that guy was gonna pound you and I sliced him in the knee. Yeah.
No,
And
it doesn't
Teera
ring
is
a bell.
sort of slowly walking back over to Vorn and kind of like you would notice she's kind of like looking around and still kind of seemingly trying to gain her bearings. She doesn't know exactly where we are. She knows we're in Candlekeep, but has never been here before.
You also now see that there is an elderly elf woman with very bright yellow hair. There is a Siamese tabaxi woman. There is a human man and a little girl of about 8 years old, also human. And this Kenku that is just muttering now. What the hell is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you?
Well, I could really use some sleep. Do we still have our place at the house of rest?
Not quite.
And I'm like, I'm sure we can find another place then. And Teera starts walking towards the door.
Yeah.
There's no discernible door here. There's a stairway.
Like, Vorn
stairwell.
grabs her hand before she starts walking away. Like, hey, we're kind of. See, we've all been humming this tune that's really strange, and they got us quarantined down here. They haven't explained it too much yet.
I was
Yeah, I
just
don't know
about
much.
to explain everything to everyone when you suddenly interrupted with your abrupt arrival. And then looking at Mizya, she says, "Do you have any more unexpected guests that you plan to introduce from within your baggage?"
And
Well, I didn't plan to introduce that one. So, no.
Sorry.
If you wouldn't mind, I would like to explain to you while we are all here before anyone else shows up,
Yes, perhaps
what
we should
is
all sit down
happening?
before Blondie here gets her under things in a twist.
I sit down. I'm like, are those mimosas? And I like pour myself a very, very big one.
And then the tabaxi woman says, there is actually a wonderful breakfast out here as well. And sort of
Where?
spins the lazy Susan around and... Yes, pour yourself a drink and I just wanted to explain to you why we are under quarantine.
You gotta try this coffee. It's spectacular.
I've been at Candlekeep for a very long time. When I first arrived here, the Avowed were very concerned about a singing madness. A book merchant had been afflicted with it and was put into isolation after several Avowed began singing the song as well. I don't know what happened to him or the others. It was over 600 years ago. At any rate, because my memory made me remember that this particular song, and that I am also now singing it, I have alerted the Avowed and we've sealed the exit to stop whatever this is from spreading. We will be quarantined within the Firefly cellar until we can get to the bottom of this. That is all.
And Teera would kind of like squint and like lean over to Vorn. I'm like, am I supposed to know what song we're all singing?
No, don't start singing. In fact, try not to have a moment of silence.
Next to you, there's the little girl just kind of looks up at you and goes, "Oh, it's the one that goes la la la
No,
la 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 la," and you notice that
Elmo's song. Yeah.
as she starts
Sorry.
as she starts singing it, you start to hear some of the others just seem to pick it up, and soon pretty much everyone, unless they're actively trying not to sing it, they start to sing the same tune, or hum this tune.
Vorn is actively trying not to sing it.
And does Teera know it? Is she humming?
You can make a history check.
Okay. 3.
You do not know this tune, nor do you feel a compulsion to sing this song.
Oh, perfect.
Well, I never heard it before. I think I'm fine.
That's the strange thing. I haven't heard it before either.
It goes like this.
Yeah, believe me, I heard the whole fucking chorus, Doc.
Why are you so aggressive, Teera?
I don't know. That would be a question for a therapist.
Yeah,
But for
you should
today-
probably get that looked at.
I just came out of who knows where, Doc. Off my case, and I'm tired, and I want to go to my room in the house of rest, and I want to drink, and I want more alcohol. Teera's already done with the first mimosa. And Vorn, you would probably be the only one to notice. Like, Teera's kind of like shrugging it off, but there's clearly something else on her mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, well, you want me to go upstairs and tell them all why you're staying down here like hermits?
No, we can't go upstairs.
I'm afraid.
I can.
I'm afraid the quarantine means you are down here with us as well. The exit has been magically sealed to prevent anyone from getting out or in. We do not want whatever this singing sickness is to spread.
So how do we cure it? How do we fix it? We've
Well,
got
it's a good thing that we are quarantined within a library, she says, gesturing around at all of the books. The Tabaxi Cthulhu says, I am very thankful that this is a larger place, but I do not like the fact that I cannot get out of here. I am a person who likes the outdoors. I need to be free to roam outside under the sky, and you're telling me that I can't get under the sky. This does not make me feel very good. Edbar, the human, just says, well, look, we'll probably be down here for a couple days. Somebody will figure out what's going on, and it's a minor annoyance at best. The worst part about this is all of you are forgetting that you are in a library, and I have work to do. And I'm going to have to ask that you remember that you are in the library so that I may get to work.
So how did you said this happened before, correct?
And it was over 600 years ago.
And how did they fix it 600 years ago?
As I said, it's hundreds of years ago. I don't exactly remember what happened to the others. I was not afflicted at the time. I was a new avowed, and as such did not have as much access as I do now.
Mizya, Doc, any suggestions? You're the smartest ones in the group. What do you think?
I'm probably going to read while they figure this out.
That's a great question. What do I think? Well, I think a lot of things. I think it's strange that Teera came out of a bag. I think it's also very weird that Togo says he is Mizya's bodyguard, and Mizya doesn't seem to remember saving his life. I think it's weird that Vorn goes from placid to angry and is very hungry all the time. I wonder what that's about. And really, I wonder how we got in this situation to begin with. Was it just ill fortune, or is there something greater at play? These are just a few of the things I'm thinking of right now.
Teera would lean to Vorn and she would say, "Do you happen to have your deck for playing the Black Gate on you?"
I was gonna check his satchel. Yeah, I do.
We need to get away from these nerds and go play Black Gate to keep our minds about us, eh? I need to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Vorn feels his small deck, 100 cards, and he's like, okay, absolutely. And yeah.
Well, you are free to peruse the books at your leisure. For myself and the others, please return the books from where you found them. If you have difficulty locating anything, please do not hesitate to let me know. I am senior scribe of the Avowed.
Yeah. And Vorn looks over at Togo, and any idea at all?
Togo just scratches his head, thoughtfully, like still eating at this point, just chewing and I don't rightly know. I've never been much of a problem solver. I've been a doer, like point me to the problem and I'll go, I don't know, talk to it, smack it, whatever it needs. But the thinking stuff, I usually left that to Mizya.
And Vorn looks over at the Avowed and say, how long do you think we'll be down here?
Well, it is my hope that whatever it is that is afflicting us will pass. In the meantime, I will be perusing some of the recent books. We are We're in the midst of a restoration project. Many of the books down here have been brought here as part of the special collections. Books that need binding repairs and other fixes to them. So we've been dealing with that as well. I will shift my focus, doing what I can. I do recognize the sudden inconvenience of this, but it is for the safety of ourselves and everybody within Candlekeep that we isolate and figure out what is happening. In the about 15-20 feet away, you see the Kenku gather some books up and begin moving towards the stairs to head down, and you hear, as they head out, you just hear them whistling this tune, and you hear it with sort of an echoey sound as they begin to descend down the spiral stone staircase, taking on this sort of almost eerie quality as it seems to, as they move further away, seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. And that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
Wow.
Next week, the mystery is afoot.
Mm-hmm.
The Candlekeep mystery.
The
A
Candlekeep mystery.
where we will have to go through many scrolls. And maybe a few scribes.
Well, the gang's back together again.
Yeah.
Teera and Togo have met, and everything is just okay.
Everything's fine.
As you've come back into a sudden quarantine in a giant library, which is a very small sub-library of the much larger library. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. Next
Library
week.
reception.
Yep, library reception.
Mhm.
In the meantime, be sure, I know we have a placard that kind of mentions this, but I'm going to mention it anyway. You're going to want to tune in to fortnerd.com on Twitch tomorrow for Dreadful Tales Arc 4, Episode 4, I believe, where I'm DMing Arc 4 and Dwight's a player, along with some other fine folks as we continue with the Dreadful Tales over there. And then, of course, on Thursday, you can join us for more Dawnbringers in the Wild Beyond the Witchlight, our Season 6 ongoing campaign, and see what the Dawnbringers gang is up to. I'm just taking a look to see who's streaming right now that we should throw a raid over to, and I'm thinking let's go ahead and raid our painting friend Dr. Faust. It's been a while since we've sent a raid over to the good doctor. Yeah, thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. Thank you to new followers, people who resubbed or supported with bits for domain tomes, all that good stuff. We appreciate you. If you are somebody that tunes in and you like to listen quietly, lurking in the background, we appreciate you all the same and hope you enjoy the presentation. And of course, I have to say a huge thank you to all of these amazing players who I just love playing with everybody every week. Excuse me. Thank you to Gary, Cari, M, Dwight, and Ricky, without whom it would just be me talking to myself for a couple hours. With that, we are going to go ahead and end this stream the same way we end every stream. You can say it with me if you want.